I feel you creeping up on me. I see you smoking in the tree.
Hello, people. We're back. Playing some local tunes today on purpose. The song is actually from a local band from DeSoto, Missouri. Brother Lee and the Leather Jackals. Joshua Eaker, the lead singer, hails from DeSoto. The song is called I'll Eat Your Soul. It is not intended for minor consumption, but it is fun to play loud in the car. A little gritty rock and roll. Actually, it's a little near and dear to me because we recorded this at my old studio, Gaslight Studios, right there on the hill. So if you're a fan of the show, you know that we play music on purpose. And today, one of the two guests that we have, according to his Twitter bio, if it's accurate, is from DeSoto. Now he's like, holy shit, staring at me like, how did you figure this out?
I went to high school with Josh Aker.
Yeah, small world. And you didn't follow the rules. I was going to introduce you, man, you guys. We're back, Soccer Dad Pod. Before I jump into our guest today, just again, want to continuously thank you guys for listening to the show, engaging, following, all that. I do have a special request. Shares are extremely valuable to us and our advertisers, which also equates to our children's college funds. So please share the show, encourage listens. We would much appreciate that. Last episode we had Santiago Beltran, the Latin voice of City SC, formerly of STL FC voice as well. Fun conversation, Colombian, native, living here in St. Louis now. We broke down everything from the current team, his favorite player, his Shih Tzus, why he named them what he did, and Shakira for obvious reasons. So, without further ado, because my two carpool co-hosts are out golfing, they say they're working, but I guarantee they're golfing today. I have a couple of STL City's finest. No, they don't lace up the boots with the sharp points on the bottom. They lace up, I'm going to guess, Chucks or Vans or something more stylish. I've got a couple members of the digital media team with me today on purpose because part of our show is all about peeling back the onion of not only the history of soccer in St. Louis, but now with our bright new shiny toy located down at Olive. It's the whole experience that's making it just a home run for everybody that's participated, let alone the record and the team on the field. So, without further ado, I have Jeremy Tripp and Aaron Brewer. Jeremy is the Director of Digital Experience for City SC, and Aaron is the Senior Product Manager, a.k.a. the guy that does all the work for Jeremy. How are you guys doing today, man?
That's extremely accurate. That's exactly right.
I wouldn't say it's 100% accurate.
No notes.
No notes.
No notes. You guys like that? You seemed awfully surprised by the Brother Lee roll in there.
I mean, Josh has been an incredible musician as long as I've known him, and to hear him, years later on a podcast randomly, yeah, very, very surprised that.
Well, this is St. Louis, and so we didn't even have to go down the road of saying what high school did you go to, because I'm going to assume it was DeSoto.
That's right. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, it's a small world. Yeah, no. One of our engineers, when we opened the studio on the hill a couple years back, well, actually back in 2015, had done their previous albums, brought them in. Great guys. Josh, Danny, Sean. Deep South County boys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's kind of funny because I mean everything in this town is really about relationships, and it's about we find those lines of connectivity. And I brought you guys on today because, as I mentioned kind of in the intro, the new team, the new toy, right? It's about the team, it's about the game, it's about the wins and losses. Those are the headlines. But what you guys are doing is really about the experience. It's about the preparation. It's about the education. And I really want to get into that today, and we'll talk about a lot of other things. But just for the listeners' benefit, give us that elevator pitch as to what it is exactly you guys do, kind of like on a game day basis, or what people touch that you guys are responsible for, and then we'll back up.
Yeah.
Sure. So Aaron and I have a product management background, which basically means that we sit between the fan and the business of City SC from a digital perspective. So it's really our job to look for problems to solve and try to reduce friction anywhere we can. So most of what we touch is the app. The City SC app is our baby. The website is ours. Food tech. So anytime you're in the stadium ordering from a kiosk or from the mobile app, or you see the digital signage up on the walls, that's all in our space.
Yeah.
So basically, without the app for the most part, I mean, because you guys integrate with SeatGeek, you can't really address your season tickets or your tickets. Without the app, you can't engage or find food and beer. So basically, without the work that you do, there is no fan experience. Is that what you're saying?
We like to think the City app is the key to really anything that you want to access in City Park. We've tried to build it that way. We home grow our app, so it's developed internally. That's very different than from the way most clubs, or really most teams in any league, approach it. So because we've centralized that and we kind of are in control of building it ourselves, we've been able to treat it as this hub between all of our partners and all of our vendors, and create this incredibly functional utility that allows us to make it the one thing in your pocket that you have to have at City Park.
So, excuse me, Aaron, for you, question would be this. For an individual that is not a season ticket holder or has not attended a game but is a soccer fan and anticipates attending, why should they get the app? What's in it for them up until the point that they have tickets in hand to go check it out?
Yeah. Well, if they're going to be attending, downloading the app would allow them to get access to our interactive stadium map to learn and understand where like all of our food partners are in the stadium, where they can get beverages, where they can get merch. Additionally, like they can also use it as an opportunity to find parking around the stadium if they're not familiar with the area. There's this long joke that St. Louis is one giant parking lot, but the further west that you move from downtown St. Louis, it's not. There's not a lot of parking.
Right.
So we got to make sure that we're addressing that problem on front and giving our fans the ability to understand what's available. But for those that aren't going to be attending a game, we're baking in features to the app that would allow them to keep up with matches. Those capabilities are something that are coming down on our product roadmap. Jeremy had mentioned it, but having an internal team that builds our app in-house allows us to control that roadmap more, understand what our fans' wants and needs are, and be able to build where they're going to be at.
So let me ask you guys this, because in a number of the content pieces that have been created, the videos, kind of the pump-up videos and the other type of social media that has been, obviously permeating social media in general, a lot of it references this start from scratch, this build from nothing mantra, as not only as an expansion team by default, it's new, but you guys are taking it a step further than most organizations. And I think you mentioned it earlier, or you started to talk about it, Jeremy, where most other organizations, most other teams tend to use third-party apps and then just simply plug and place their logo and their here's where you can find your nachos. Talk about building it from scratch. Why did you do it that way, first off, and what has been some of the benefits for the end user with it being custom to the team?
To understand that, you really have to go back to August of 2019 when we were awarded the team. A few months later, Matt Seaback joins the team, and Matt had this incredible technology background that allowed him to sort of see into the crystal ball of the future, and the way that the sports industry had always been and what he himself would have wanted in an experience himself as a fan, and then bring that to what would become City SC. So, a few months later, he brings me on board, I bring on Aaron, and I think it was really that trifecta with our development team that allowed us to take Matt's vision and then create this reality where by homegrowing the app, we can centralize all these features and all these capabilities that, it goes far beyond just a white label experience where all these features are now connected and they're integrated and they work how you want them to. And we started to take notes not from other sports teams, but from these best-in-class retail experiences. Aaron and I both came from, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or if somebody's going to come get me, but it's a...
Well, there's only 7 people to listen to this podcast, so you're safe.
Oh, we'll say it this way. It's a bread baking organization from St. Louis. So I'll let you piece that together.
That ran away from its true title.
Perhaps that is the one. I can neither confirm nor deny. However, from that experience, we gained an immense amount of complex industry experience about what it looks like to run an e-commerce website of that magnitude, or what it looks like to operationalize technology in a cafe environment, something that you need to do in a stadium. So, being able to pull from those experiences and then be in direct control of solving these fan problems in a way that allowed us to move very rapidly. I think it's set us up for a lot of success, and we're still learning, we're still growing week over week.
Okay, so out of the gate, because a couple of weeks ago I attended the 314 Digital event in the belly of the beast, down in the basement. What do you
the
call
Pitch Club? The
Is that what
Meta
it's called?
Pitch Club. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I have 3 kids in school right now, and I'm not usually in the pitch club. I'm just saying. So. You guys talked about, though, specific to St. Louis, and you were touching on building it from scratch, but you also talked about the relationship and the engagement from some of the other sports, professional sports clubs in town, specifically the Blues and the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Tell that story, if you don't mind, because that story, when I heard it, it was one of those prototypical St. Louis stories where it's like everybody knows somebody, and in your case, talk about who showed up and how they added to the conversation.
So in the bid process for being awarded a team, there was a number of meetings with Don Garber, and again, I was not part of these meetings at the time, but it's just sort of the urban legend of this at this point, but. One of these meetings, Don Garber comes to town, and the purpose of the meeting is for the Taylor family and Jim Kavanaugh to sit down with Don Garber and basically prove that St. Louis has the corporate structure and the business capabilities to support a team. That was the goal of this meeting. So Commissioner Garber comes to town, they have the meeting, and in this room is, the DeWitt family from the Cardinals.
Heard of them.
Doug Armstrong, Tom Stillman from the Blues. And Don Garber was struck by this because, he's expanded this league a few times now and had several versions of that meeting in other cities. And he said never had he seen other clubs or other teams in town, teams that technically we need to go compete with in a way for fans, for eyeballs, for dollars. He had never seen another city's competing clubs basically come in support of a potential expansion team. So he was very moved by that. And, the Cardinals and the Blues have been amazing advocates for us all along. We can call them up anytime, ask for advice, ask for, anything we need from them in terms of how to be successful in St. Louis. And obviously they've got...
Well, yeah, in the Cardinals' start to the season, they probably need to give Lutz a call and be like, come on, man, what's going on with these numbers? And you know what I'm talking about.
It's been
and I know you're walking on eggshells with
nonsense.
with the nonsense that I'll throw out, but...
No, the Blues didn't have the best year in the world.
Neither.
I think the Blues are going to come out stronger next year. The Cardinals, I don't know, man, their lineup looks good on paper. I think they're going to figure it out.
You know what? The tone of your voice and the actual your eyes shot up when you were talking about the Cardinals. Question for both of you: are either of you from a soccer house? Do you have soccer pedigree in your bones, or were you brought in for your digital talents and you're now falling in love with it?
That depends. Will you ask us to leave if the answer is no?
No. I'm an inclusive podcast, and I will not ask you to sit or stand in your seat at any given time.
I'm going to let you go first on this
All
one.
right. I don't come from a soccer home. However, soccer has been near and dear to me just from a playing perspective. I actually grew up in Hillsboro, Missouri, right next to DeSoto, so small town boys.
There you go.
And there I played soccer. Growing up playing soccer as a kid, but I do believe that our digital expertise did have an influence on us being here.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, because St. Louis historically, and frankly, from the majority of the rural surrounding areas, it is Cardinal Nation. It was a big red nation for a while, then the Rams, and then obviously the Blues have been a stalwart since the 60s. Here comes MLS, in the late teens, in the city. This group is awarded the team, and now you're aware of it. You're moving in. Did you have any idea that it would be received the way that it has been? Were you expecting that? Was it a surprise? Being on the inside part of the team that was responsible for rolling this out, did anything like aha you?
I'll say yes. I mean, I knew it was going to be this way from the second I saw this team was announced. I grew up in a baseball family. I grew up with my grandpa around Busch Stadium, trying to get autographs from Lou Brock and Bob Gibson and whomever would roll in the parking garage down there. And I think St. Louis has always been a sports town. You just noted, the illustrious history of this city. But the Blues have been around for 50 years, and the Cardinals have been around over 100. So,
right.
What I didn't know was how fast it would happen, because those teams have amazing, illustrious histories. It took them a while to get there. I knew that St. Louis would support anything with St. Louis on the chest, but I did not know it would be this immediate and to this scale. And it's been amazing, obviously.
Well, I have a technical question because I'm assuming you guys are on top of volume, utilization, all those typical metrics as it applies to tech, right? If you go back to whenever the season ticket window opened up, flooded, right? We have a projected 22.4, 22.5 stadium, and we have 60,000 or whatever the number was in season ticket reserves. Okay, we get past that. That's all sorted out. Tickets are sold. We're selling out. Now you get into the season and you start to see utility and usage. And here we are as arguably the greatest expansion team in the league on paper. Are you seeing just a continuous surge? Was there a whale hump in the numbers, or what does it look like on your side? Are you seeing just constant interest, or is it just steady?
I think the key here is that St. Louis adopted very early on. There was a core group of diehard soccer fans who know the history. They've been around. They were excited when a club was announced. But beyond that, there's the casual sports fan, and that's the group that we spent the better part of 2 or 3 years trying to get into our fold. But since we've started the season and since the club has been so hot, now we're actually seeing numbers grow from beyond even that group. So now we're into casual sports fans, people who may only come to one game a year, or even statewide or national interest from cities and states that we never even tried to court. So that's been amazing to see the national interest grow as the team does well.
So then from a national perspective, the Garber stories early on, coming in and meeting and sitting down, and DeWitt's in the room and Armstrong's in the room, and all those things have occurred. And now you fast forward to today, because every MLS market is now taking notice of everything that we're doing, not only because of the obvious record, but down to the food. You have Footy Scran and accounts like that are really global accounts that are like, hold on, this stadium's different. Talk about your guys' role as it applies to, leaning into more of the plus one items above soccer, that being food, beverage, experiences like that.
So I think Matt Seebeck has this great way of explaining this, where he wants the City Game Day experience to be a sensory experience, where you smell great food and you hear great music, and you see an incredible show put on in the field, and it goes on and on. But I think that as our leader, he's put us in a great position to be able to affect each sort of column or each pillar of that sensory experience. So we are always looking for ways to integrate the food experience into our app, or even like Aaron getting involved with the parking map. That was a customer problem that we found that we felt like we could have an effect on that match day experience. So Aaron went and he tackled it. Where I don't know what else to add to that.
Well, I think where I was really going with this too, and you answered it to a large degree, but the compare contrast to the other cities, the other stadiums. For example, Sporting KC, love to hate them, and I'm going to ride them all the time. You look at their location, and it's a beautiful stadium. I'll give them that. I've been there. It's nice. It's a nice grass field square. It feels European, but the overall experience is extremely subpar when you start to calculate the ticketing and the food and all those things. It feels milquetoast, if you know what I mean. How are you guys planning on staying on top of that trend? Is it built into the culture via Seebeck, via Gerard, via the team? Are you guys kind of consuming it daily and trying to figure out how to constantly push the envelope? How is that process playing out?
It's all of the above. We want city matches to be the biggest party in town every other weekend, basically. And I think we do our best work when all of those different parts of our organization are firing at once. So you mentioned a couple. You mentioned Gerard in the food experience. But beyond that, there's
AKA pizza delivery boy.
That's right.
During goals, right?
Pizza guy.
Cheesing.
Yeah.
How funny was that, though? I mean, realistically, here you have a James Beard winner with a restaurant empire holding what looks like a ton of single serves, just smiling, like handing him out. That was crazy. And if you haven't seen it, go online. Just go to Twitter, Insta, and type in Gerard Kraft goal. You'll see it. What is it like working with individuals like that? Because I think about other professional sports, leagues, organizations, stadiums, and no offense to the LHMs of the world. But there's a big difference between a white-collar brass of LHM walking down into the team meeting and a guy like Gerard Kraft. Talk about that culture.
I'll say that the Taylor family came into this with the mindset that they were going to bring in the very best people that they could to build this thing. And look, Gerard is on that list. Mastermind is on that list. It's down the list. I mean, throughout the organization, they have literally said, okay, who is my ideal candidate to run this team? And they went out and got that person.
And a lot of those individuals they have a huge stake in St. Louis, right? So the team isn't just the team on the field. It's our restaurant partners. There's 25 of them in the stadium. It's Gerard, right? Everybody has a personal stake in St. Louis, and we want to elevate St. Louis as we elevate the team.
It is funny because I have a number of friends that will be coming into town, and they are going to be snagging some of my tickets. And I've joked with them. I'm like, look, soccer's going to be good. I'm not worried about that. Seats are great. Sightlines are awesome. Music's going to be off the hook. All good. But our food scene has always kicked the shit out of your food scene, friend from Tulsa, from wherever. And the cool thing is, like, I can literally send them the app and be like, here, check out Farm Truck, Sam over there, or Balkan, right? Find another stadium that has like a Balkan flatbread. It just doesn't exist. So kudos to the whole team. I think it's one of those fringe benefits as attendees. You most have heard about it, most know the names, very few, because we have a large percentage of people coming in that are county residents. There's not a lot of farmhouse food trucks in the valley.
That's right. And again, so many of us joined the organization because we wanted to shine light on St. Louis. We saw what the team could do to help elevate that, and so many of our food partners feel the same way. They are here to obviously sell hamburgers and hot dogs, but at the end of the day, that's very hard to do.
Well, but you didn't get a normal hot dog. You got a Steve's.
Steve's hot dog.
Bacon Jamaican.
But look, it is very hard for these guys to sell some of their products in a stadium environment. Most of the food sales that occur in a given soccer match occur in the 30 minutes prior to the match and then the 15 minutes of halftime. 90% of your sales are going to occur in those 2 periods of time. So that's okay if you're slinging hot dogs, something that you can create in 15, 20 seconds and then hand off.
Yeah.
But it is not easy to do with a pork steak sandwich. It is not easy to do with that Balkan flatbread. Yeah. Those are very hard. So these guys had to really, really think through, how can I be successful in this environment in order to be a part of this? And they've done that. And I think just week over week, we've seen massive improvements that that show that this is hard to do, but it can be done.
So a lot of the content also, just from an entertainment standpoint, educational standpoint, you guys are doing a great job of getting the players out in front of the people through the app, through socials, etc. Some of the more funny ones, in my opinion, are the ones with the food, trying T-Ravs, things like that. Have you had any experience with the players through those events? Any of the what I would consider like the behind-the-scenes feedback, because a lot of them are coming from environments, teams, home stadiums that don't do what we do. What's been the player reaction to the experiences that you guys are creating?
I'm glad to give some of these guys some beautiful weather for the first time the last couple weeks, because basically they've all come in. I mean, a lot of them endured a brutal St. Louis summer last summer, right into a brutal St. Louis winter, and finally we're coming out of that. But I just think that so many of them are just reacting to our food. Like they come in from these cities all across the world, and then they're struck by our food scene, and that's the one thing they all seem to be cohesive around.
We're going to need like a schnitzel cart soon.
That's right.
This German contingency is just kind of taking over.
They're going to have a hankering.
Some sauerkraut.
Well, more urban chestnut, right? We'll give them some German beer. So no, it's awesome. What have you also had? Do you continually compare and contrast with these other MLS teams in particular? Because I know that you guys. I mean, there's bragging rights. What does that look like in your world? Because you guys are the gateway between Mr. and Mrs. Smith sitting on their couch and getting a ticket and showing up and sitting in their seat. Everything in between those two processes or two instances you guys are touching. How are you comparing with everybody in your own minds right now?
Go for it.
Oh, okay. I think there are certain clubs in the league that we look to as North Stars. When we were coming in before we'd played a game, we looked a lot at Austin and what they had done from a brand building perspective. Atlanta is obviously a club that fills a huge stadium every other weekend.
Crazy.
Incredible. So there are examples out there that certainly gave us something to aspire to. We definitely wanted to be our own thing, though. So we have tried to do our best to establish some thought leadership within the league around, this is how you take a concept, nothing more than an idea of a soccer team, and then turn it into reality and build something that people can get behind before you kick a ball. So that, I think overall, as far as expansion clubs are concerned, I think we would consider ourselves very successful in that. I don't want to say the most successful ever because that's kind of tough to measure, but I think overall we did it.
So let me ask you this, because I know that there are a number of key positions excuse me, within the organization that are populated by people that did not come from the soccer world, including yourselves to a degree. How much do you think that is playing into, specifically in St. Louis? Because we've touched on this earlier. Everybody knows somebody, and the soccer community here is very, very large. And so there was a general expectation running into this thing that would be populated with what I would consider the usual suspects. Mm-hmm. But this ownership group did not do that. Really kind of seemed to select the CEO, COO, individuals like yourselves, people that were really good in their lanes. How's the chemistry, within a soccer organization with a number of individuals that have not been in the soccer world?
I'm incredibly proud of how seamless that has been, honestly. You kind of look at the city front office as this quadrant of people who came from inside of sports and people who came from outside of sports, and then you kind of the other direction you look at it as people who came from St. Louis or people who came from outside of St. Louis. And it created this really unique blend where, like I said earlier, because the Taylor family wanted to simply just install like the best possible person for that role.
Well, I mean, it starts there. That's kind of where I'm going with, because Carolyn Kindle, was famously kind of quoted or caught on tape with a Soccer for Dummies book, as the owner of an MLS team. And there's a certain amount of like cute parody to that, you guys seem to be like feeding off of a lot of that, in a town that is clearly a soccer town, is that, because I have a hard time believing with brilliant brand minds that you have, like some of this has to be a little bit on purpose, or is it just that organic?
I mean, I feel like it's organic.
It's absolutely organic.
You've got Lee Broughton right next to her office who has incredible soccer knowledge.
Yeah.
He's got
great hair too.
Tim Twellman. You've got Dale Shilley. You've got Tim Kelly, guys who are born and raised here and have an immense depth of knowledge. For every person who doesn't come from sports, you've got somebody who did and brings it all together.
Let me clarify too. I love it. I think it's great because I think that our town, not that it's unique to St. Louis because it happens everywhere, but we tend to fall within our own gutters or ruts, so to speak, over and over and over again, and that's why the cars move in the same direction. But this team is literally like swerving all over the place in a good way. I love it.
It allows us to create an environment where the best idea wins, not just the way that it has always been done.
Right.
I mean, Aaron and I come from a space in sports where probably once a week we're told, you guys are weird, this isn't usually the way we do this. And I kind of love hearing that because to me that tells me we're on the right track to something. We're breaking a wheel or innovating. We're doing something.
Disrupt.
Yeah, we're doing something disruptive. And that's where we as tech guys want to be.
Yeah, it's way more fun to create ideas and frankly try them in the face of all sanity, right? Because usually that's where the cool stuff comes out. And having attended probably, I don't know, I think I've only been to about 7 MLS stadiums. This is unique. And it kind of caught me off guard. As a lifelong soccer person, player, fan, dad, soccer dad, all this other stuff, I was not expecting it. So kudos to you guys on all that front. So it's time for a refill, quick break. You might have heard in the background here, I'm finally picking up on what's going on here. We're down at Wellspent Brewing on Olive. If you listen, beer's great. Come check them out. But looks like there's an event. Approach, single, mingle. Find your person in person. So check it out. Giving them a pop while we're on here before we go fill up our glasses here. So Jeremy, Aaron, thank you. We'll be right back. Cool. And we're back. Got a refill. quizzing my two Southern Region friends here with another Southern Region band. What we got? We got anything?
I don't know, but I like it.
Oh, it gets better. It's actually really one of my favorite songs from a local band.
I think I know it.
Really trippy. Got a guess for me?
Is it Pono AM?
Bingo. Well done. You are from DeSoto, aren't you?
Fun fact, I spent all of high school and my college years in bands. I was a touring musician. I played with half the guys in Pono.
That's awesome. Good Vibes by Pono AM. Give them a follow. They would appreciate it. Yeah, so, neither one of you have a wiki page yet. You will, because you'll be go down in history as the STL City app makers. You get a big wiki page and examples of all the work. But I noticed in your Twitter profiles some similarities, and one stood out to me.
How handsome we were.
That one didn't stand out to me.
Ooh, okay.
Is it the hair?
No, it was actually a description of interest. Any guesses as to what your overlapping interest was outside of music?
We've been friends for like 10 years, so
That's true.
I don't know.
Woodworkers.
I would say I'm the lesser of a good worker.
So as an ex wannabe carpenter myself, who built our dining room table, by the way, why woodworking? I thought, is that like an escape from
It is.
digital,
I think of it like this. I spend all my waking hours in front of a computer building something that you can't touch. And then I
Yep.
go home, and woodworking for me is problem solving, but with your hands. Like, you can think through the problem, but then when you're done, you can hold it. And that is
1,000% with
yeah,
it.
it's a different kind of problem solving that's almost therapeutic.
Plus, the tools are cool.
They are
I mean,
very cool, and they're very sharp and
inexpensive.
dangerous.
They are
Very
expensive, too. Yeah, and becomes a very expensive habit whenever you nick your finger, too.
Yes.
I still don't have feeling in my thumb from a router that I caught once. That was not smart.
Oh, they're bad. They'll jump, too.
They did.
Not good. So in the first half, we talked about a lot of the kind of the build out, the things you guys focus on in order to kind of create the environment, and then we talked about the different characters within the organization. A few of the key characters, though, Lutz, Lee, and Peter, I believe. Do you think that they're able to control a room because they have an accent?
I will say I do think it contributes, but I don't know how much.
We first time I listened to what is it? City Voice, correct? That's the podcast, right?
Yep.
Sitting there listening to music, episode 1, and bam, here's the BBC at 9 voice. I'm like, he's not from, the Hill.
Listen, St. Louis is very well known as the accentless, heart of the Midwest here, where we have the lack of an accent. I think we have a thing or two to learn about what an accent can do to oration and your ability to work a room.
I think, one of the funny, what if you did this? What if you challenged everybody as one of the new little media pieces? Just have them say Interstate 44 or Farty-Far or,
Farty far.
Farty-Far, 44, 404.
Aaron has a great Peter Wood impression that I think he would love to put permanently on the record.
Let's drop it. Red light's on. He's got to put his Pellegrino down.
Aluminium.
Aluminum.
Aluminum.
Oh.
Aaron, if I gave you an idea that you thought was really good, what would that idea be? Would it be...
Brilliant.
What else would it be?
Mental.
What else would it be?
Very punk rock.
Yeah, that's... I'm feeling it. It feels like Camden Town on a Sunday. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a subtle thing that I love about the team. Is really kind of the international influence by default of some of these people that are involved, because it is the global game, right? In starting with Lutz, kind of from a play standpoint, building the team, building the players. And you look at the national flags of the players that we brought in. It's super impressive. Forget about getting into the weeds of how he's done it financially, all those other things without a designated player, but a designated team. The designated team concept, it feels as if it's carrying over into your guys' world as well. I mean, it really is almost like the whole organization is operating that way. Does it feel that way? I mean, can you speak to that?
I think so. I feel like it's just an organization and a culture that is pulling in the same direction. That's really what it's all about, right? On the field, it was. It started with building that spine, starting with Roman Berkey, starting with the sort of core players that Lutz wanted to bring in early and establish. But then, at the same time, in the front office, I think it's the same kind of thing. It's just a mission of building the best possible experience that we can, and really having no agenda to it other than doing that.
So talk about building things out, because the TV presence of the league was taken over this year by Apple, right? Those of you that are familiar with the packages, the season pass, all that thing, and Apple in general, you kind of know a little bit about what's going on, but there's also kind of the underbelly of the content itself that I believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe explain it to me, each team has its quote page, right? But within that, the team is able to or encouraged to provide content to Apple, kind of under the what I would consider like additional content, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there plans on that front? Can we reasonably expect more of that type of content coming out, behind the scenes stuff? What's that look like, and how is it to work with Apple?
I mean, the answer is yes. There will be a ton of content. We were well positioned to take full advantage of that relationship with Apple just because we have an in-house content creation, what I'd call agency, like a whole team of people who work on this kind of thing, and not every club has that. So the Apple relationship was certainly I think it's a boon for accessibility in terms of making MLS literally in the pocket of how many 100 million people in the United States and globally. But as content creators, we were very well positioned to be able to make that kind of content, and of course, you can definitely expect more of that.
Yeah.
As that expands and kind of grows. Working with Apple, I think, it's been fine. It's been easy. They've made it easy for us. They obviously have an amazing team of developers and product people there to create that tool.
Yeah, they're pretty
learning.
good at product, aren't they?
They're learning just like we are. This is the first time they're doing this, so
yeah.
They've had outages. They've had features that didn't go like they thought, just like we have. And
but
we're
the
quick to fix them. So.
The screen quality is out of this world.
It is. I mean, it looks like any EPL game you've ever seen, right? It's
very good.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
So I'm going to stay in the Apple world real briefly here, kind of a quick crossover, little parallel lane, and that is Ted Lasso and Wrexham. And the reason I'm bringing them up is because of part of your guys' job, right, is to not only take care of season ticket holders or ticket holders for said games and creating that experience, but you're also trying to extend the experience, the bells and whistles to maybe non-soccer fans. Do you or have you looked, because the Ted Lasso thing, where I'm going with that is, there's a ton of people who love Ted Lasso that never loved soccer that are now aware of what it is. Wrexham is a little bit of a different beast. Are you familiar with Wrexham? I'm
of course,
assuming?
yeah.
And what they've been doing with TikTok and everything else. Do you ever look to kind of Hollywood in those two examples for inspiration or things to reach out to the non-soccer fans, or is there something that is a trick to not fool a soccer person but hook somebody that might have been a baseball person?
I mean, what both of those shows have done for soccer, just elevating the sport, is undeniable. I mean, anytime you can bring a casual fan into the fold and effectively convert them to someone who prior we never would have spoken to or been able to contact, bring into our fold, and now there's somebody that we can actually get down to City Park or at least to download our app and get our content in front of them.
I mean, from just strictly an experience perspective, right? Like Jeremy had mentioned a little bit earlier on the show that we're pulling experiences that are stellar outside of our industry, and we're trying to meet the fans where they're actually already at, right? So by delivering on these awesome fan experiences through the app, through the city park, through content, right? We're hopefully growing our known universe even more and getting people educated on the sport.
What are some of the non-sport brands, tools, apps that has inspired you guys to create some of the experiences that you have?
Obviously, Panera. We have a lot of. Too late now. We look a lot to.
I'll beep it out. Obviously, bunny bread.
No, but look, I mean, in the e-commerce space, in the food space, Chipotle, Starbucks, Panera, those are great applications that we look to often for inspiration. Outside of that, we look to Spotify. We look to what else? Throw some at me.
I mean, we look at Xbox and PlayStation for achievements, right? Gamification within the app. We look at a lot of, Simon, the premium outlets in Chesterfield, they have an awesome interactive map experience for you to be able to find where you need to go. We're just looking all over the place for awesome experiences to take inspiration from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the badge thing feels like a video game. I mean, it really does. You're completing these levels. Do you guys track internally? Like, is there a board of your top 10 badge getters? And because I'm sure there's hundreds that all have the same number of them, but who's quickest, and why is it Matt Baker?
I was gonna say, the answer. The question is, who's number 2?
Yes, who's the number 2 super fan?
No, the badge structure is it's almost like among the supporter groups, I feel like we're the badge guys. They don't care so much for the app, but they love the badges.
Yeah.
And
the badges.
There's people out there who just love them. I'll say just for reference, if you have all 3 tiers of the first game badge, you are elite. There's only maybe 30 or 40 people in the world who have all 3 tiers of that.
I think I just figured out how to do the game day prediction last week.
Oh yeah.
Week 8. Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm not your target market right now.
Well, and there's more we want to do with that. Like,
yeah.
Aaron as the app guy thinks a lot about. I'm speaking for you right now, by the way.
Thank you.
You're 2 feet from me.
I can concur. He's nodding yes.
He thinks a lot about how we obviously engage the diehard and engage the soccer fan, but how do we engage you outside of match day? There's 6 other days a week that we want to entertain you, and we want you to be in the app, and we want you to be spending time with us.
Yeah.
So that, driving that engagement through things like badges or through our partnerships around the city or any number of things, like anything we can get to bring people back to the app, we are interested in thinking
Absolutely.
about.
That was actually one of the questions I had. Maybe it's a question for you, Aaron. Like, what does a Monday morning look like after a game day weekend? What are you guys looking at from a utilization standpoint, or how do you give yourself a grade on Monday after a Saturday night game?
Yeah, I mean, we look at all the data, all of it. We look at food engagement, we look at app engagement, we look at where they were at in the app, what features were they using. We also send out a post-match survey after every match just to get a good gauge for what our fans thought about the
I filled that out,
experience.
by the way. And I never
Thank you.
fill out a survey. You're welcome. Usually my wife will only do it if she gets free food. She's a Panera taster, by the way.
All right.
I mean a bread coat taster.
Yeah, bunny bread.
If you
Bunny
want to
bread.
ask
Bunny
him-
bread. She loves bread.
if you want to really get Aaron going, ask him about NPS scoring.
Oh, man.
Here we go.
What acronym? What's it stand for? Do we know?
NPS stands for Net Promoter Score, and it gives you a good gauge of the perception that your customers or your fans have of your brand, product, or service out there, right?
So after a 2-hour rain delay, how'd you do?
We haven't looked at the data yet.
We'll look at it next week.
I can tell you with confidence, people were drinking beer, so the score was probably okay.
I have selfies to prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. In the Hellcat, which was tornado safe, by the way.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And most importantly, from Saturday, I just want to make sure that fans were safe and sound and that everything went smoothly.
Yeah, I mean that was clearly an atypical situation. I felt for a lot of the kind of the gate staff because it was, they were given simplistic instructions, and everybody there heard these simplistic instructions, and in typical human style wanted to make them difficult, which just made it worse. So, you know what? Whatever your score was, just grade it on a curve. It doesn't matter. That was like a college prep course.
Well, we haven't looked at it yet, so it could be good.
I'm sure it was, actually. I'm just,
I'll tell you, winning 5-1 makes a lot of any challenges people face go away.
So funny because I was standing there with some buddies and talking about the whole thing. And for me, I happened to get in probably 5 minutes after or before they locked the gates because of the lightning strikes, right? And I compared it to, I have friends that live in Florida, and they always talk about these hurricane parties, right? Where they're like, we're not going anywhere, and sit around and drink tequila for 24 hours. Kind of felt like that a little bit. But when the game started, you had the red light ring. I don't think it could have happened any better for you guys as an organization for them to score 3 minutes in. And now everybody's memory of what just happened was long gone. So I think you guys owe Stroud a 12-pack of well-spent beer.
Look, we were joking earlier today, and if we could just get Bradley to tell the boys to score 3 minutes into every match, I mean, we're going to be in good shape all season.
Those NPS scores are going to go off the charts.
That's right. I don't think he drives the on-field strategy based on our NPS scores, but if he did, that would do a lot for us.
Well, he seems very cosmopolitan. I'm sure he'd be open to it. And he's got an accent, too. All people with an accent will at least listen. Now, they might make fun of you afterwards, but...
They're smarter than us non-accent people, so...
Oh, that's true. Farty far.
Yeah.
That's true.
No, it's crazy because it's like... I see what you guys... Really, the club as a whole is attempting to do... Oh, that was definitely a date match.
Somebody had success.
Actually, 2 rounds of beers in and 1 rotation of speed date, and they're hitting it off now. So witnesses here, and everybody listening is like, you guys are losers. Move on. But here's what where I was going with this. From the feel of the stadium, because I had friends in from Chicago recently. Big soccer people, Fire season ticket holders, grew up here, but they've been gone forever, probably 25 years. And we turned the corner, parked the car over at the training grounds at the academy, and we walked down the street, and you get to the corner, and boom, there it is. And his quote was, "This is fucking done right." And that was it. It was all he saw was just the Market Street corner. And then we started walking through all these other things that you've done. Showed him the app, showed him different things, and he's like, this is more of like an amusement park for soccer nerds.
Oh, man.
And so I'm not saying it because I want you to pay the tab or anything, but I know I'm being serious here. So whatever you're doing, the secret sauce is there. Just keep stirring it. Maybe it's Gerard. You have a real chef.
We do. He's in there mixing the ingredients, and, making sure it's spiced to taste. I love the amusement park comment just because the way that I think about what we're trying to do on a technology side, I'm not trying to build the best sports app or create the best sports digital experience. We really do think of City Park as a district, and we treat it more like what a theme park would do. How would a theme park approach this problem than a sports venue?
Universal Studios, right? Me personally, I have no interest in Mickey Mouse. I have no interest in the vast majority of Universal characters, themes. I do like Harry Potter, and what they've done down there is amazing. But why I will give them all the credit in the world is the efficiency, the efficacy of everything that you touch there, from the parking lot to your ticket to the timing of the lines and all that other thing. It's like intuitive, whereas you go back to growing up here, you go to Six Flags in the middle of summer on the asphalt and get in line for the Screaming Eagle, and you hope to ride it 2 hours later, and you never knew. Now, granted, you didn't have cell phones back then either, but I think what you guys are doing is you're really kind of taking a lot of the guesswork out of it, which is really cool.
Yeah, because ultimately it's before, during, and after a match. We need to be getting after the experiences at each one of those parts.
So let's talk soccer now that we've talked technology for 45 minutes. I'm assuming you guys have been at every home game?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Have you been to, I'm assuming you went to games in previous years kind of as part of the team, or have you been to MLS games prior?
Yeah. I've been to Austin a couple of times. I've been to KC. I visited Toronto just on a family trip, but I didn't get to see a game. Just saw the stadium. So I'm racking up my collection. I've been to Louisville, USL
Louisville's
match.
cool.
What's your
Louisville
favorite?
does it really well.
What was your favorite?
Oh man, there's so many still to see that I feel like I need to see LAFC. I need to see Nashville. Like there's some on my list that I know will make the top list once I go there. But
LAFC, you follow, obviously the El Tráfico was this past weekend. Watching their social media, it's like a scene from Gladiator, or what's the one with Mel Gibson where he's
The Patriot, obviously, is the one you're referring to.
Braveheart.
Braveheart, thank you. Man, I total brain fart there. Yeah, more Braveheart. They're scary.
Was it What Women Want? Is that the movie you were thinking of?
Yes, it actually was. That's on the concourse level. No, but I'm saying what they're doing out there and the quality of the team's off the charts. Very, very good team. They are going to be dangerous. My question to you guys is this. Now that you have skin in the game, equity in the process, and equity in this team, talk about being a fan. Here we are. We're sitting at 6-2. We lost 2 games to very tough teams. The third of the 3 tough ones comes to town this past weekend, and we completely destroy them. Where's your heads at? Where's your hearts at with the team? And project out. What are you thinking this year? Aaron, you go first.
Well, when we work a match, we're usually running around the entire time, making sure that everything's running smoothly, that fans are having an awesome time with food and tech. But those little glimpses of moments where we get to stop and watch the match for a second and see a goal, it's magical. It really changes the field of which we've been working on for so long.
When you're standing on a corner and you see build up at goal and you see everybody stand and then you see the lights or whatever, do you feel as if you're a proud papa, and that's your baby out there?
Yeah.
The home opener for me, to Aaron's point, when we're working a match, we have our backs to the field a lot of the time because we're working with, we're working with fans, we're working with food partners, whatever. But the home opener for the sort of build-up moment, the hype moment, if you will, before when the players took the field, I made sure that we as a team had a chance to go out and kind of experience that moment. So it was literally Aaron and myself standing shoulder to shoulder right outside of Together Credit Union Club watching this moment. And Aaron handled it like a champ. He's a tough guy over there, but I was crying because we put years of ourselves into this project, and then that was the moment where it became real and a ball was kicked, and it was kind of like you cross a finish line, but almost you cross a starting line at the same time.
It's so funny because if you've listened, Jared, my co-host, we famously talked about his first day in. And here's an ex-D1 player, played a very, very high level, continues to play with a lot of guys that were pros for a long time, and we've talked about that first day walking in, and he literally cried for a much different reason, like an accumulation of 30 plus, 35 years plus of here it is. and you have been with the team with around the game here for a relatively short period of time, but it's like accelerated kind of the passion. And I think that's something, and I'm only bringing this up because it's more kudos for you guys, because that's exactly what you did. You created a fast track to people's passion for the team. I joked earlier on because, I mean, you can't go anywhere in this town and not see somebody wearing a city kit, hoodie, koozie, bumper sticker, whatever. And we put a tweet out a little while back like, hey, sorry, Cardinals, you know, what took you 100 years of merch sales took City 1 year, you know. But that's kudos to the whole brand and the ID and the color and everything. So season prediction. Let's go down that road. Now, you know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah,
I'm
just thinking.
You know where the bodies are buried at this point.
And it's changed week over week because prior to the season, so look, I went to Austin as a fan. I wanted to stand with the supporters. I wanted to see that first match. And talking with them, I was sitting next to Kevin Marshall and Aaron Mednick. And those are good dudes.
Luligans.
Tons of people who listen to the show are going to know these two guys because they're the most welcoming people in the world.
Is there anybody that's taken more selfies than Kevin?
No, 100%. He's the selfie king, self-proclaimed. But I'm standing next to these guys, and you know they're clearly emotional about the moment as well. And it really strikes you what you've built here. But in talking to those guys, the first match, our prediction was, let's get a couple goals in this first one. You know, let's just break out of here, not embarrass ourselves. Early season, it was, hey, this team might be kind of good. Let's just try to make the playoffs or make a good run at it. You know, maybe have a deep Open Cup run and make the best of this first year. But now you're thinking, man, this team's pretty good.
Yeah.
Who's going to stand in the way at this point? So, you know, I want to see Seattle come back around. I want to see what we look like against LAFC. Some of these top stalwart contenders, and
how bad,
see where we stand.
How bad do we beat those turds on the other side of the state?
We're just going to take care of business here at home.
2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead, say it. If you say it must be true. If I say it, it'll go the other way because that's just jinxing myself here. Is there any like rivalry trash talk started yet on the backside with those guys? There's got to be a little bit. I mean, it's not like we're saying, "Oh, hey, San Jose," or you know, it's just not happening.
So yes and no, and I'll say it this way: when I came to the sports industry, again, I did not come from sports. At Panera, if I were to call Chipotle and say, "Hey, I really like that feature you guys built. Can you tell me how you did that, or who'd you use, or how did it work?" They would say, go to hell, right? Like, no, I'm not going to tell you that. That's our intellectual property. But if I were to call Austin and say, hey, who are you guys using for this great thing that you do? They'd be happy to help. If I call the Blues, they're going to be happy to help. If I call the Cardinals, they're going to be happy to help.
I see where you're going with this.
Such a change.
It's very friendly.
In the sports industry where it is collaborative and it's kind of like the high tides raise all ships mindset. So, you know, we've spoken to SKC and obviously there's fan benefit to creating that rivalry, but we don't want it to be manufactured. So it's kind of like we're just going to each do our own thing and let it organically develop.
It's real. It's real. There's planter boxes of it in all of our backyards. All right, Aaron, what's going to be our final record? And how far do we go in the playoffs?
Undefeated.
Henceforth.
Yeah, exactly.
Going forward. Yeah.
How far do we go in the playoffs, Jim?
I mean,
1 game, 2 games?
What's the best expansion year? Was it Atlanta?
Winners was, I don't know. See, that's a Matt Baker question.
I know.
I need to have him on speed dial while I do these.
I want to say Atlanta famously had a deep run in their first year, but I don't.
You might be right. You're much closer to the MLS than I am.
I
can tell you that
won
Chelsea shit the bed today. So.
Well, I may be wrong about this, but I mean, I think we're going to win the whole damn thing.
There we go. It's on the record.
You saw what happened with City too, coming out of the gate.
That's right.
That is true. All right, so just to prove that I did a little bit more homework as we wrap this thing up here, I'm going to roll us out here real quick. Give us follow. And again, my request of the day is share the episode, share the show, tell your friends how cool we are. And there's a Venmo QR code on our webpage. Feel free to tip us because that pays for beer. Now that I got that out of the way, Aaron, your profile bio, I believe it said woodworker and synth tech, right? So here we go. Let's, you tell
Excellent.
me. You down with this? A little,
Yeah.
Right in the sweet spot.
It's my jam.
Jeremy, thank you for joining. Aaron, thank you for joining. Gentlemen, let's keep in touch. Updates, changes to the app, all that stuff. Our people go to the game. We're all season ticket holders, so we'd love to learn more. And good luck with the rest of the season and the app and activations. And we'll talk to you next time. Cool.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, gentlemen, be good.